My name is Ari Jules. I'm a faculty member at Cornell Tech and Cornell University, as well as chief scientist at Chainlink Labs. I'm also the author of crypto thriller novel The Oracle, which was just released earlier this year, and which I'm delighted to be talking with you about today on the Oracle Day. Now, the book is science fiction, but it's also a scientifically based exploration of the near future. And I'm going to talk about one of its central messages, a caution about the dangers of combining blockchains and AI. Truth. No other word quite captures our many quests in science and religion and so many other areas of our lives, not to mention the axis around which so much societal and political conflict revolves today. Now, truth is a lofty word. To grasp concepts like truth, we look to many places, often to philosophy, and particularly the philosophy of the ancient Greeks. But as it turns out, for the answers to questions of the greatest importance, the ancient Greeks themselves usually didn't go to philosophers. They went instead to the center of the world. And that's where my story begins. Okay, you ask, well, where is the center of the world? According to a popular Greek myth, Zeus identified it using what amounted to a clever surveying trick. He took two eagles and released them from opposite ends of the earth. Where they met was the center of the world. As I said, a clever surveying trick. In that spot, Zeus, according to the myth, placed a sacred stone known as the omphalos. Omphalos means navel in Greek, and the omphalos was regarded as the navel of the earth. You can see this wonderful and delightful myth depicted on a coin here. This is a coin from the 5th century BC, Greek coin. You can see the eagles there perched on the omphalos. There's also a tuna. That's a completely different story. Well, around this mythical stone, and it was a real artifact in the ancient world, arose the most important religious site in ancient Greece. In fact, in the whole of the Mediterranean and to some extent beyond. And that was Delphi. And at the heart of Delphi was the famous Oracle of Delphi. Now, we've all heard of the Oracle of Delphi, but I think few of us have an appreciation of its absolutely towering importance in the ancient world. And I certainly didn't until I started doing research for my book. What you see in this slide here is a reconstruction of the main religious sanctuary at Delphi. And in the center there is the massive temple of Apollo. Delphi was a center of such tremendous wealth and power that some historians today liken it to the Vatican. And it's certainly not an exaggeration to say that it played a pivotal role in the history of the ancient world. If the stories handed down to us are true, the destinies of nations were swayed by the prophecies that issued from the lips of the priestesses at Delphi. And according to the ancient historian Herodotus, at least one prophecy led to the fall of an empire. And I'll talk about that a little later. Well, you can't have a talk these days, of course, without at least a little bit of generative AI to convey a sense of the atmosphere and the unique and breathtaking geographical situation of Delphi. I've created a little generative AI rendering here. But you don't want to look too closely. Some of the columns need to be taken back to the shop. The general atmosphere, though, I think is conveyed nicely by this image. All right, so my book is a near future science fiction novel about blockchains. Yet here I am wandering on about the god Apollo and his oracle. What gives? Why is that? Well, the novel is about a man. He's not named in the book, so I'll just refer to him as the hero of the novel. A man who is targeted for murder by a smart contract. So there's a rogue smart contract trying to kill our hero. And it appears to have been created by a cult who refer to themselves as the Delphians, followers of Apollo of Delphi. Well, our hero teams up with an FBI agent by the name of Diane Dumenier. And Diane becomes convinced that the Omphalos, that sacred stone that I mentioned, which was lost centuries ago, has been rediscovered by archaeological looters. So there's a connection to oracles through this artifact, but the connection with oracles goes much deeper. And to explain that connection, I need to introduce you to or remind you of some of the key properties of smart contracts. So what is a smart contract? A smart contract, in essence, is a little program that runs on top of a blockchain. And the fact that it's running on a blockchain enables it to achieve three critical properties. The first is that it's tamper-proof. Once a smart contract has been launched, its code can't be changed, it can't be modified or hacked. It can't be changed in principle even by its creator if it's been coded the right way. So when you interact with the smart contract, you know exactly what you're getting. Second property is that a smart contract is unstoppable. Once it's been launched, in principle, it will run autonomously forever. It's been coded the right way. So it can't be taken down by an adversary, and again, can't even be terminated by its creator. The third property is that a smart contract can hold money. And I mean the program itself can hold money. It's unlike other software, unlike, for instance, the apps you may use on your mobile phone to send money to friends. Those apps don't themselves have direct control or ownership, custody of money. They issue instructions to move money. But in the case of a smart contract, the code itself holds the money. To explain why these properties are so important and powerful, I think it's helpful to give an example. Let's consider a smart contract for betting. Suppose that Alice and Bob want to bet on the outcome of a football game. What they can do is each send $1 in cryptocurrency to a specially coded smart contract. This contract will award $2 to Alice, in other words, Bob's dollar in addition to her own, if the blue team wins the football game, and of course, vice versa. Bob will win $2 if the red team is victorious. So how does the smart contract help us here? Well, the fact that the smart contract is tamper-proof means that Alice and Bob don't need to appeal to a trustworthy company or other organization to run the betting pool here. All they need is this special piece of software, the smart contract. The fact that the smart contract is unstoppable means that no one can shut it down and cause Alice or Bob to lose money. The winner is guaranteed to be paid out. And the third property, the fact that the smart contract can hold money, means there's no reliance on an external payment system. Payment is immediate and automatic. It happens on the blockchain. So this gives you some sense of why smart contracts are useful and why these three properties in particular are so beneficial. This is all great, but there's a small technical challenge here. Obviously, the smart contract needs to know who won the game in order to know how to pay out the money. Now, how would you or I determine who won the football game? Well, we would naturally go to some trustworthy website and just look up the result. But as it turns out, for various kind of nuanced technical reasons, smart contracts and blockchains more generally can't connect directly to websites. Because the smart contract can't do what you or I would naturally do to determine who won the game. Instead, to get an answer to its question, to contact an authoritative website, smart contract needs help. And that help comes from a system, a decentralized network of servers known as an oracle. So an oracle system delivers facts about the real world to smart contracts. You can appreciate that oracles are critically important for blockchains with smart contracts. And a blockchain without oracles would be like a computer without an internet connection, or a city that's not connected to a highway system. It's hard to accomplish the most meaningful goals. It's hard for smart contracts to reach their fruition without a system of this kind. My research led me to connect with a couple of characters by the name of Steve Ellis and Sergey Nazarov back in 2017. They were also interested in oracles and had recently launched a project called Chainlink to create a decentralized oracle network. The most fruitful collaboration in my career began when I partnered with them to write a white paper. This was a paper laying out the technical vision for the evolution of Chainlink. And today, thanks to the remarkable work of Sergey and Steve and hundreds of others, Chainlink has essentially become critical infrastructure for the smart contract ecosystem. Well, the goal of blockchain oracles is a very ambitious one. Blockchain oracles aim to be sources of definitive truth, like oracles in the ancient world, like the Oracle of Delphi. But whereas the Oracle of Delphi delivered truth regarding things of interest to the ancient Greeks, like whether to found a colony or whether to go to war, blockchain oracles, as I mentioned, have the goal of delivering real-world data to smart contracts. And they can do other things as well, like connect blockchains, provide trustworthy sources of randomness to smart contracts to ensure things like fair gaming and so on and so forth. But truth can be dangerous in all kinds of ways. And this was exemplified in the ancient world by the story of a king named Croesus. And we're told by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus that Croesus, who is the king of an ancient kingdom called Lydia, which corresponds today to a portion of modern-day Turkey, told that Croesus consulted with the Oracle of Delphi to determine whether or not to go to war with a powerful rising adversary. The oracle told Croesus that if he went into battle, a mighty empire would fall. Croesus took this to mean that he would be victorious in battle, so he attacked, and a mighty empire did fall, as the oracle had prophesied. But that mighty empire was Croesus's own kingdom. And you can see the aftermath depicted on this vase here. This is Croesus about to be burned alive. Happily, he was saved at the last minute. So truth can be dangerous in all kinds of ways. It was dangerous in the ancient world, and it can be dangerous in blockchain systems. Some colleagues and I wrote a paper back in 2015, 2016, you see here, that warned in particular, implicitly, about the danger of combining AI and smart contracts, and talked specifically about the possibility of AI, natural language processing, specifically enabling the creation of smart contracts that foster criminal activity. In this paper, we referred to such smart contracts as criminal smart contracts. Today, I prefer the term rogue smart contract. That's the term used in my novel. What was this paper talking about? Let me give you a simple example to illustrate the risk. Give you a simple example of an AI-powered rogue smart contract. Let's consider the Koh-i-Noor diamond. This is a famous diamond, part of the collection of crown jewels belonging to the British royal family that sits in the Tower of London. And it has a politically contentious history. For instance, India has demanded its repatriation, its return. Additionally, there are people who believe that this jewel is cursed. So you can imagine that somebody just might want the Koh-i-Noor diamond to disappear, to have it stolen. Not to own it, after all, the diamond is cursed, but just to see it vanish from the Tower of London. Well, such a person could, in principle, create a smart contract that offers a monetary reward to whoever steals the Kohinoor diamond. Offers, for instance, a cryptocurrency reward, $100,000 in cryptocurrency to a successful thief. But in order for such a smart contract to be created, two technical challenges have to be overcome. Two questions need to be answered. The first question is, how does the smart contract know that the diamond was stolen? Second question is, how does the smart contract know, even if it can somehow figure out that the diamond was stolen, how does it know who should receive the bounty, who the thief was? To answer these questions, the second question in particular, I need to introduce a concept from the criminal underworld known as a calling card. In brief, a calling card is an exotic detail left at the scene of a crime, whose purpose is intentionally to identify a criminal to the world, usually by a pseudonym. So, for example, if you've seen the charming and very funny Pink Panther movies, they feature a jewel thief who goes under the moniker The Phantom. His pseudonym is the Phantom. He's played by David Niven, whom you see here. The Phantom's calling card is a glove monogrammed with the letter P, which stands for Phantom, of course. So in these movies, when a jewel disappeared and a glove like this was found in its stead, you knew that the jewel thief was the Phantom. So this is an example of a calling card. Armed with this concept, we can now understand how a rogue smart contract for the theft of the Kohinoor diamond, offering a bounty for the theft of the Kohinoor diamond, would work. Here's the idea. The would-be thief, let's say it's the Phantom, and the Phantom has not yet used his trademark calling card, a monogrammed P glove. The would-be thief writes out a little text description of his calling card. He writes out monogrammed P glove. And he sends this description to the rogue smart contract. But he sends it in concealed form. Think of it as encrypted form, cryptographic commitment. Then the thief steals the diamond. Kohinoor diamond disappears, and as I said, this is a famous jewel, so its theft is reported in all the papers, splashed across the headline. Across the headlines is a report of the Kohinoor diamond being stolen. And of course, the news reports, news articles also mention the fact that this strange artifact was found in place of the diamond, namely a monogrammed P glove. At this point, the thief comes back and reveals the calling card that he had previously sent to the rogue smart contract. Think of it as decrypting the description of the calling card that he provided. And at this point, the smart contract checks whether there's a correspondence between the revealed description of the calling card and reports of the theft in the newspapers, in the news. And if the two match, then the bounty is sent to the thief who revealed the correct calling card. Because after all, only the true thief could have known the calling card in advance before the diamond was stolen. So this is the idea. But you recall that I said that this is an AI-powered rogue smart contract. So where does AI come into play here? The answer is here. In order to determine whether there's a correspondence between the text description of the calling card and reports of the theft in the news, you need something like ChatGPT, an LLM, some kind of natural language processing tool. And this tool would very naturally be deployed in an Oracle network for various technical reasons. So the smart contract I've just described, the rogue smart contract I've just described, would naturally be powered by an AI-enabled Oracle. Because if an Oracle system gives a smart contract access to an LLM like ChatGPT, the smart contract can ask a question like, do news reports of the Do news reports indicate that the Kohinoor diamond was stolen? And do they indicate that this calling card that was just revealed is correct? Now, one thing that it's important to appreciate here is that all of this can be done. The entire life cycle of the rogue smart contract, right, can be completed without the person who created the contract having to trust the thief or vice versa. In fact, the two don't even need to communicate directly. And this is what makes rogue smart contracts so potentially dangerous. There are a bunch of other details that I've left out, but I think this gives you the idea of how, gives you a basic idea of how a rogue smart contract might work. Well, jewel theft is a benign kind of crime. Nobody gets hurt. But as I mentioned, the hero of the Oracle is being targeted by a rogue smart contract that's soliciting his murder, offering a bounty to whoever successfully kills him. And remember that second property of smart contracts I mentioned, the fact that smart contracts are unstoppable. So our hero has a seemingly impossible task before him if he's going to save his life. He needs to stop this unstoppable technology. That's the crux of the story, and that's what makes it a thriller novel. A few things I want to note, though. First, rogue smart contracts of the type that I've described, for instance, for the theft of the Kohinoor diamond, or for the scenario in my novel, are technically feasible today, thanks to the advent of LLMs like ChatGPT. They're technically feasible today, but not possible with today's infrastructure, happily. You cannot today launch a rogue smart contract of the types that I just described. Yet, it may be possible in the near future. And so one of the roles that the Oracle plays is as a cautionary tale about the future of blockchains and AI. But I think it's helpful to take a step back and contemplate the bigger picture here. I'm not particularly worried about the scenario in my novel, nor am I particularly worried about the fate of the Kohinoor diamond. But I am worried about something. Right? Many of us are concerned, and I think rightly so, about the possibility of rogue AI, and in particular about an AI agent escaping its confines and somehow wreaking havoc, causing damage in the real world. Right? We worry about a Godzilla-like AI agent. And there are a few different ways that this could happen. An AI agent could escape into the real world, for instance, by seizing control of an autonomous weapons system, say a fighter jet. This would be a true nightmare scenario. Or maybe gaining control of cyber-physical infrastructure, important cyber-physical infrastructure, like autonomous vehicles or the power grid. These are things we ought to be concerned about. But there's one potential vector of escape that I think is underappreciated, often overlooked, and that is the financial system. As we should be worrying not just about Godzilla, but Godzilla with a wallet. Because as the rogue contract I described underscores, if you control money, you can have an impact in the tangible world. And this is the scenario in my novel as well. So we have to ask ourselves, what can we do about the possibility of rogue AI accessing financial assets and cryptocurrency in particular? Well, in the scenario that I described, or the scenarios I described, oracles are facilitating LLM use by rogue smart contracts. But when you think about it, if an oracle is providing a smart contract with access to AI tools, it is also, in a sense, playing the role of gatekeeper. And so there's the possibility of flipping the scenario that I described on its head, and instead asking how we can enforce AI safety when it comes to crypto assets using oracles. This is something that I'm beginning to explore, possibility I'm beginning to explore, and that my colleagues at Chainlink Labs are also giving serious thought to, and that I hope that you and others will begin to think about. If you're interested in some thoughts on this topic, you can have a look at an opinion piece that I co-authored with my colleague Lawrence Veroni in CoinDesk back in April. So we describe some ways that AI safety might be enforced in blockchain systems. The book, the Oracle, also contains some what I'd refer to as researchy ideas. There's a lot of discussion of a promising technology, one that I think is going to play a critical role in blockchain systems in the years to come, called trusted hardware or trusted execution environments or secure enclaves. There's also discussion of an idea that I find particularly intriguing, an extension of a capability known today or system known today as a flash loan, which I won't describe in this talk, but I'd encourage you to explore. A really magical idea, and I think one of the best exemplifications of what smart contracts can do. My novel describes an extension of this idea that my group at Cornell Tech is exploring today and should be releasing a paper on in a few months. This is what Delphi looks like today. Its splendors are gone, and that sacred stone, the omphalos, disappeared centuries ago. But might it have survived? Who knows? This is one of the mysteries at the heart of my novel. The whole tapestry of ideas I've talked about in this presentation appears in the Oracle. It's a story about many different things. It's an introduction to blockchains and smart contracts for people without technical backgrounds. It's an exploration of advanced blockchain concepts for people who are already steeped in the industry. It's about oracles, ancient and modern. It's an exploration of the combination of blockchains and AI. Most importantly, it's a story about a man who appears to be fighting for his life against two implacable powers: a cosmic power called the god Apollo, and a technological power called the smart contract. Bad for him, but good for you if you like thriller novels and adventure stories. If you'd like to learn more about my novel, I'd encourage you to visit the novel website, oraclenovel.com. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation and joining me today for the celebration of the Oracle Day.